Hello, everyone, and welcome to my live tonight. Oh, my goodness. I was vibing to the music, and I hope you were too. Sometimes it's nice to just kind of not jump right in, but to just have some music to just kind of usher you in. You know how they say you want to have your band playing as you walk in? That's my band. And I am so happy to be here with you all this evening. And for those of you watching this on replay, be sure to give it a thumbs up as well as leave a comment. For those of you that are here live with us, please be sure to leave your questions, comments in the chat because I have a special guest tonight. Before we begin, though, this channel is my podcast here on YouTube. But I am Coach Sherry, and this channel is about workforce development, career readiness, entrepreneurship, real life, real issues, and real talk. And y'all, I love to bring you content that can help you go to that next level, that maybe be that resource for you, that nugget that you can absolutely implement right away. And so I'm always scouring the earth for incredible people that I can also invite onto this channel to give you their point of view, to help you understand their experience, because you might be going through it too. And they can give you that motivation, those skills, those that encouragement, that inspiration to do it too. If they've done it, then you can do it too. And listen, reading is fundamental, and that was one of my goals for 2024 was to read more books. And I have, because I used to be an avid reader until all this technology, where you can have audiobooks, and that is reading, I suppose, but it's not the actual reading of it. But I used to read all the time, especially back in the day when I used to commute to New York, and I would ride the bus and the train, and while I was doing that commute, I would read. And on the streets of New York during that time, there would be tables of all the latest books that people would sell on the street. So no matter what street you were walking on, no matter what corner, there was a table filled with books. And I used to love to read them so much. And I'm getting back into that groove. My young adult children, they do have a book club. It's called We Be Reading. And if they are in the building or looking at the replay, welcome in. My son is also an author. Loverboy is his first novel. But you know what? I went to a Black Book Festival that was held here in Charlotte, North Carolina a few months ago. It was the second annual festival that was held here. It's a company, they're based out of Virginia. So they have those festivals in Richmond and Petersburg area. So this was the second year that it was in Charlotte. And y'all, I was so glad that I went. Oh my goodness, I met some incredible authors. And I'm of the mindset that if I'm going to have you up on, to share with the guests and with all of you, I definitely want to experience what you have to give. And so I purchased a couple of books, and I plan to purchase more. I do have the contact information for the authors that I connected with, because my goal is to read the book first and then invite them in. Now, you may have seen another one of my lives where I talked about the book that I was reading from one of the authors that I connected with at I want to call it the film festival, but it was the Black Book Festival. And the name of the book is called Dark Obsessions by Delphine McClelland. And oh my goodness, I finished it. And as soon as I finished it, I reached out to her and I was like, listen, first of all, you need to have the sequel like right now because I need to know what happens, because it was a cliffhanger at the end. Y'all, what? And so another great thing that I loved about this book is that it took place in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for those of you who may or may not know, I am based here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So whenever I can read a book and I'm familiar with the territory that is being described and the setting of the book, I get so excited. So if you are from Charlotte, if you want to come to Charlotte, and who doesn't? Not when 100 people move here every single day. So who doesn't want to come to Charlotte? What? But if you are interested in Charlotte and, reading this type of book where it gives you some places and just kind of, takes you through, but this is a paranormal vampire romantic book extraordinaire. I mean, the characters are full. You get a sense of who they are, the things that they go through, what good versus evil, yin and yang, it's all of that. It keeps you turning the page for sure. But let me tell y'all, when I purchased this book, right, it took me a minute to crack it open because this author, she gift wrapped the book so beautifully. I didn't want to disturb it. Have you ever received a gift and it was wrapped so beautifully you didn't even want to open it? You're like, listen, me looking at it wrapped and seeing how beautiful and how much effort you put into wrapping this, it's enough for me. That's gift enough for me. I'm not even going to open it. But I was so curious to read the book because when I met her, she not only had the book wrapped, but she also had a letter of thanks included with it. She had a candle that she said to her, this is what the main character smells like. And this is the candle right here. What it came with the book, y'all. And it also came with a necklace. So putting all these things together, I said, hold on. It made me that much more curious, but it still took me a minute to crack it open because it was just wrapped so beautifully. I even took it and showed some people on my team, like, look at this book I got from the Black Book Festival. This author took the time out to wrap every single book. This is incredible. When have you heard that? That's marketing at its best for sure. And so, before bringing the author up, I do have her in the wings. I wanted to just read her bio, but before I do, let me just check in and see what everyone is saying. I see Slasher Chick is in the building. Melissa Huggins, hello. I know Melissa in real life. That's my Jersey girl for sure. Let's see. I see Mrs. Newton's Big Family, Big Noises in the building. And listen, you was here a couple of days ago, y'all. I know that I had to switch the date, and I thank y'all for still rocking with me and saying, you know what, Coach Sherry changed the date, but we still going to be in the building. So thank you all for being here. And Slasher Chick is here. Thank you for being here. You looking forward to it? Yes. She has so many nuggets, y'all. It's going to be so exciting. I hope you have your pen and paper ready to take down the notes. Thankfully, this is recorded so that you can go back and watch the replay. If you know any authors, if you are or writers who want to be an author, if you are that person, please be sure to share this with your circle, but also take the notes down for yourself too. I see everyone is speaking. Slasher's Chick is saying she's doing well. That's good to know. And let me pull up. I saw Melissa Huggins was in the building earlier. Yes. And I know she's still here because I did receive the text. Thank you all for your support and for the 10,000 plus that come in after. Welcome. And thank you for tuning in for sure. All right. So let me pull this up. Let me get myself situated just a little bit. Hold on. All right. I'm so excited too, y'all, because this is some good stuff that is getting ready to be shared. I hope y'all are ready. Ready or not, here it comes. All right. And as I'm reading this, I am also going to put up her book cover of the book. Let me get it in the queue. All right. Here we go. Oh, you can only see it. It's behind me. Well, it's behind me. It's okay. Let me read her bio in the back. So, Delphine McClelland was born in Statesville, North Carolina, where she is a graduate of Statesville Senior High School. After graduating from high school, she took her dreams and passions to Knoxville, Tennessee, where she attended and graduated from the University of Tennessee with a degree in anthropology. Her career path was set until life happened, and on the advice of a coworker, she took her passion for reading and channeled it into writing her first novel, Dark Obsessions. And I will leave the email address, or not the email, but the website to this book in the description box under this recording. And I have to let you know that Delphine McClelland, not only is she an author, and this is her very first novel, but she has won the American Fiction Award, which is the AmericanBookFest.com. So if you go on there, you can see the people that have won in the past, but she is the winner currently. So I think that is amazing for this to be her first novel. So without further ado, I am going to bring up my special guest, who is author Delphine McClelland. And oh, you know what? I let me give everyone, I hope you're giving her a round of applause. But wait, I have an applause button. Let me see if I can find it. Ah, okay, here it is. All right, Delphine, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Happy to be here. Hello, everyone.
Oh, that is so awesome. Thank you for making room in your schedule to be here. And I'm excited, to hear more about your journey. And I know that everyone that's in the chat now, they are just as excited because, listen, so many people have that book inside of them, that book that, is just waiting to come out. But some of them don't realize how they can get it out. And I know that you're going to be here today to share with us your how, your why, your what, the where, the all of that. So again, I hope
Yes.
everyone has their pen and paper ready so that they can capture this great information. You don't hear this too much, and there's not a lot of platforms that you can hear from, first time authors that are also published, not self published. So before we get into it, I do see there's something else in the chat. Okay, I see Slasher. Oh, good. Melissa's saying excited, and Slasher Chick is clapping. Okay, perfect. Thank you for clapping her in. I'm going to open this up a little bit so that we can see each other better. Can you see me better too,
Oh,
Delphine?
yes.
All
Yes.
right, perfect. So I have a whole list of questions because I didn't want to miss out on anything that you may have to share. But this is going to be a conversation. And, we have other people that's joining this conversation with us. But I read this book, Dark Obsessions. Ooh, I hope everyone can see my copy. Dark Obsessions. Can they see it? Uh, well, I have it in, and you'll see it. But I enjoyed every page. I enjoyed the way the characters were developed. I enjoyed the storyline, even though it was kind of eerie, with the
It
vampire
has its
vibe.
dark moments. It does have its dark moments.
Yes, it does. But I also appreciated the love story behind it all, and the good versus evil, and just the emotions and the things that were going on, and the conflict between the characters in terms of wanting to do things one way but being pulled to do something a different way, and the energy that true love can actually have on two individuals in a space without a touch, without that intimacy. It's just intimacy comes in different levels and layers, and you
It definitely
definitely
does.
showcase that in this book. So, first of all, please tell everyone your backstory of how you became a writer. How you, well, not a writer, but an author, because you were a reader, that's for sure. But how did you turn your reading, your love of reading, into being a writer and a published author?
Well, it all started when as I said in my bio, life happened. So I was all set to be going to school to become a forensic anthropologist. My mom passed away, and I ended up keeping my nieces and my nephews till they all went to school. I hadn't at that time. I hadn't worked in about 4 years, so I just needed to get something quick to kind of get me back on my feet, get me back into the swing of going to work. So I took a part-time job and landed at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, where I met who some of you may know is a guy named an actor named John Volstead. He was the leprechaun. He was the pawnbroker in the movie Leprechaun. So if anyone ever watched that movie back in the day with one of Jennifer Aniston's earlier movies, he was the character of the pawnbroker. he was very intrigued by the things that I would read, and literally would ask me almost every day what new book I was reading. And so I would tell him about the book and just get excited and go in full detail about the book that I was reading. And then just one day, out of the blue, he goes, "You should write a book." And I laughed at him. And he did it again. And for probably about 6 months straight, he would just ask me what I was reading. And I always say, "You know, you should write a book." And I was like, "No, I read, I don't write." And then one day I had an idea for a book, and I kind of went old school with it and literally grabbed a 5 subject notebook and started writing Darker Sessions.
Wow. And so it took 6 months. So why did you think it was so, no, that's not for me, when you clearly loved reading? So why were you so against it
I
at
don't know. I
first?
just never pegged myself to be a writer. And I go back and kind of look on it now. It's funny, when I was in high school, I could never write a paragraph essay. My paragraph essays were always like 4 pages. So I guess I had a writer in me for all along, but I just never pegged myself to be someone who was a writer.
And so, that's a lot. 4 pages for a paragraph
It
essay. That's
is.
quite a bit. That's giving them all they need, all the information. So, are you also a journal? Do you journal? Because a lot of writers, they journal and turn that into something. So, did you journal before writing this first book?
At the time, I didn't. It was not really a thing that I did. I expressed my thoughts and angers in very bad ways. I would throw things, punch walls,
Oh,
did a lot of things that were not good and very unhealthy. But I actually do journal now. But it was not something that I did prior to writing.
okay. Well, you know what? That brings a lot of other questions that I have. I know I gave you a list of questions, but considering that you wrote, because let me see, this book is um 223 pages, right? So obviously you knew how to wrap a book up, right? So you weren't too wordy. um but you didn't journal, so writing was not something that was just, oh, I love to write and read.
Mhm.
So how did you focus? How did you say, let me put pen to paper, let me get this 5 subject notebook? How did you focus? Because to write, especially to write a book with the characters and the locations and the way that you just kept leveling and layering it, how did you focus to do that?
When I started writing it, I kind of laid out how I wanted the book and what I played. I used a lot of what I read because I'm a big paranormal reader, so I kind of used those books as my guideline of how I wanted my book to go, and I tried to eliminate the things that I always hated in those books
Oh.
and not put them in mind. So like I'm not big on lengthy descriptions. I tend to get really bored if I'm reading a book and I'm 12 pages into you telling me the scenery or the landscape or description of the female or the guy or whatever. Like I can get really into a story really easy, and I'm a quick visualizer, so I don't need a lot of detail. So that was kind of helped me, kind of formulate the book and how I wanted the characters to be introduced, and kind of just getting everything kind of straight to the point and not adding a lot of fluff just to make the book longer. I wanted it to be as long as it needed to be, because when I started writing it, I already had the idea of making it into a series. So I was like, it's either going to be a trilogy or longer when I started writing the first process. So it helped me kind of gauge where that book needed to end and where the next book needed to start.
Okay. Well, that's good. So you had the end in mind when you started writing. And I think that a lot of authors do write like that. They write how they want to receive the story, which is great because there are readers for you. I'm that type of reader too. I loved how it just jumped right in. I'm like, all right, like here we go. It wasn't like 2 chapters later when I was just getting the gist of it. No, I got it in the beginning and I loved it. That's what made it a page turner for me. And it's almost like a YouTube channel, the way that there's different content creators and there's a audience that is there for your particular type of content, and that's what you'll attract what you like. So I love your style of writing. Perfect. All right.
Well,
So
thank
you went,
you.
yes, absolutely. So your major was anthropology and you want to go into forensics with it. I love forensic science.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So did your background in anthropology have any influence in your writing?
Most definitely. So it is the backdrop of who Skylar is. She
Hmm.
studied forensic anthropologist. She is a young up and coming ME, so she's able to dabble in both sides of it. She can deal with the flesh and the bones of it, and so she gets a lot of her quirks from me. So Skylar is loosely based off of me. I think that helped me develop a lot of my characters. Is a good many of them are loosely based off or interpreted off of actual real people that I know. So
Mm.
Skylar is a little bit of me. So
Hold on.
she
Who's Cairo in your real life? Hold
well
on.
well Cairo is imaged off of my two male celebrity crushes. So he's a mix of a young Jason Momoa and Jadana.
All right.
So, but I didn't want to put the characters on the cover because I wanted the reader to read them and visualize and interpret who that was to them. Because that's another thing that I hate when I read books is I look at the characters and every description and I'll immediately look at the character on the front. I'm like, that's not what he looked like.
I, I do that too. I will look and I'm looking at the
Like,
cover
you got
like,
that wrong.
wait.
Yes, I'll be arguing with the writer in my head. I'm like, no, no, like y'all need to redo this. Like that's not what he looks like. We need to redo that. So taking
Exactly.
all that in, with that, like I said, so yeah, Skylar is a little bit of me. So that's where she gets her little weird vibes and her quirkiness. She likes to be in the morgue. She likes the dark and the creepy. That's me. I used to affection. I used to jokingly say that I like the dead because they didn't talk because I wasn't the biggest people person. So I was
Don't
like,
make
just
them talk.
put me in a room with a couple of dead bodies. It'll be fine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I love forensics and I just, the investigative piece and Skylar was definitely good at that. But guess what? People are probably like, "Who's Skylar? Who's Cairo?" So, could you give us a synopsis of your book? Because I know people are like, "Okay, she's a writer, she's an author, but what is her book about? What is this book? This award-winning book about dark obsessions?" So, can you give us a synopsis?
Yeah, so it's about a 300-year-old vampire by the name of Cairo who has been sent on a mission to find a new playground, so to speak. So there's another vampire that'll be introduced in the book named Malachi. So him and Cairo are kind of their own version of a yin and yang. Cairo is the lighter version of Malachi in skin tone as well as in his need to be into this vampire world, into this darkness that they are both in. So Malachi has sent him on a mission to find them a new little playground. And immediately when he gets to Charlotte, there's this energy that there's something about the city that he just can't leave. And it starts to make him move very differently. So normally he'll go into places. He moves kind of like a nomad. He'll settle for a bit, they'll have their fun and then they'll move on. Well, he always gets a house, but this time he didn't just rent a house or didn't commandeer a house. The house that he got, he renovated it. He put his own spin on it. He kind of pseudo started to make it to be a home for him. He didn't return when he was supposed to, so it makes Malachi come to the city because Cairo's like, I just have to know what is this presence that's keeping me in the city. The
Mm-hmm.
book is written in third person, so you get a running parallel of Skylar's perspectives as well as Cairo, so you kind of see how both of their worlds come together. And Skylar is this young ME, so she's living her life in the morgue. She's super into reading and the paranormal world. She loves vampires. Her friend Angelina, she's kind of worked her into her world. So Angelina has this affinity for wolves. So they're really both immersed into this fictitious world. And so Skylar goes. They go to a club. So they're in the city center, which is affectionately, if you are in Charlotte, which is the epicenter. So they're in the city center. They go to a club called Eye Candies. That is the book version of Whiskey Rivers in the epicenter. So they go in, they're having their fun, and she just is met with the same energy that Cairo is feeling, makes her feel very off-putting, and she just like she has to leave. So she's kind of running from this world that is essentially calling to her, and she doesn't know what's going on, because you will learn that there is an interesting background story to who Skylar is and what her family is all about and what everybody's doing. So this new life is pulling at her in a very different way, it's similar way to the way it's pulling at Cairo. And so essentially throughout the book, they're both just trying to understand this energy, what's going on. And then they finally lay eyes on one another. And it is Cairo's intent to make Skylar his next little mouse. So that is what he calls all of his female victims. He loves to play this cat and mouse game where he finds out what they like and he lures them in, and then he springs his trap, and he goes through this cycle where he tortures them and then heals them and tortures them, and then ultimately decides if he's going to either let them leave or if he's going to kill them. And so he's intending to do this with Skylar. Finds her, he takes her, he's got her in his basement, in his torture chamber, and he's ready for her to be his newest little mouse, but he cannot bring himself to torture her the way that he wants to.
Mm-hmm. And that's like, that's a whole nother level of the story, another deep layer. And oh my goodness, I just can't wait to the second book as well. So thank you for giving us that background. Okay. And so that was part of what are the main themes explored in this book. But how does the setting of Charlotte and New Orleans, how do they impact this story? And why did you pick those two cities? And another reason, and I mentioned this to you in our pre meeting, was, before moving to Charlotte, I lived in New Orleans. So I always was really curious about all of those things that you talk about in this book. But why did you pick those two cities?
Well, I mean, it's a paranormal romance novel, and it's like you can't really, in my opinion, you can't really tell that story without it being in New Orleans with its history and just voodoo and all of that kind of sense of the world. Like, if vampires and were real, that's where they're going to be. They're going to be in New Orleans. Like that's the perfect place for them to be and kind of hide amongst the norm. Mm-hmm. Charlotte, of course, just because it's the city that I live in, the city that I'm from, it's not in books rarely. Like ultimately, I would love for this to make it to the big screen or even a series, and I would love to see Charlotte as the focal point. So I made Charlotte as the other city, and as far as the setting, it was a lot easier for me to build that because I know Charlotte. I know the areas. I didn't have to do a whole lot of research. Like when I would do the scenes with the second book with New Orleans, just figuring out like, okay, well, what is this? What do they do? And kind of, building that map. Mm-hmm. So both play a really, really important part of the story because New Orleans is going to come into play more in the second book in terms of a lot of the backstory between Malachi and Cairo.
I cannot wait until that second book. And before we continue with the other questions, I've never seen an author package their book the way that you did and have all the other elements with it. What made you decide to market your book that way?
The whole theme of the book is different. So when people hear the word vampire, they immediately go to these evil demonic creatures, and you hear a lot of people, I don't read that, that's a demonic book. And that's not, like, as much as Dark Obsessions has a lot of dark themes, that is not the nature of who Malachi or Cairo are. They're not these demonic creatures. They are derived by an incident that happened. So the story comes about as a play on the way that society or people within a society can create their own monsters. Mm-hmm. And so with that being a different storyline of what's going on, I wanted the book to be different. I wanted people to perceive it differently and just look at it differently. So after I did my first book signing, I was doing some stuff on social media, trying to figure out how to market it, how to do the book, and just kind of doing some things. and I had run across a video of a lady. She was wrapping Christmas presents, and I love to wrap Christmas presents. That is my thing. Like even with my nieces and my nephews, I would wrap all of their gifts in individual wrapping paper so they all knew who it belonged to. And I just didn't. I love to wrap gifts, and I started to think of my book as my gift to the world. And I was like, well, what better way to deliver this than as literally as a gift. So I decided I'd wrap it. I was like, just to set myself apart, because like I said, everything about the book is different. It's a play on this idea of how the world sees all people that are different, be it the African American male, be it members of the LGBT community. We are so quick to throw people into a box and label who they are. And when we see that label, that's all you know. Like if you see a black guy and he has his hair braided, he's in a hoodie, his pants are sagging, you see him and he's a thug. You
Right.
don't ask him a question, you don't learn who he is, you label him based off of what he is. And so I
Mhm.
kind of took that idea and played with it. And that is how Cairo and the rest of the people in the book are. They are labeled one thing and they decide to live in that label, but it's not really who they are.
Oh, I love it. And I've never purchased a book that has a an immersive reading kit. Where did you come up with that idea? And in this kit, it has what you should wear, what you should eat, the candle you should be burning while you're reading, which is this amazing candle. What you should be drinking, what music should be playing in the background. So, how did you come up with that list for this kit?
I got the idea from the immersive reading kit from
I love it.
a video that I saw on YouTube. And so it was an author that I was following, and she had kind of done one for her book. And I was like, that's a cool idea. So it got me thinking, what would be the immersive reading kit for Doctor Sessions? Like I said, I'm very much a visual person. So I really get caught up into the world that I'm reading. Like I've read books and have been reading for hours and literally put down and I'm like, where am I? I was like, oh, wait a minute. You are in Charlotte. Like you're not in that world. Like none of that was real. So I can really get immersed into what I'm reading. And so I just thought that was a really cool idea. And so I created this kit. So you wear a men's white shirt because that is the one article of clothing that Kyra would prefer to see Skylar in.
Mhm.
If you get the book, if you read the book, there is a scene in a pastry shop called La Creme that is affectionately Amelie's in Uptown
Yeah,
Charlotte.
I knew it was Amelie's.
And so there's that involves cinnamon twists. So as a nod to that, that is why I say, you'll eat cinnamon rolls. I went with the cinnamon rolls over the twist because I was just like, it'd be quick. You can go to the grocery store, buy some Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, and kind of create that scene, if you will.
Mhm.
The candle initially, so this is actually the second version of the immersive reading kit. The first candle was a candle that you could purchase, or at least I thought you could purchase at Bed Bath and Beyond.
Oh.
So it was called the Speakeasy, and it had these hints of tobacco and this, kind of what Speakeasy was, this like kind of musky scent. So I really was intrigued by the way that smelled. But after I had done the first immersive reading kit, when I had done my second book event, I was like, I'm gonna go buy the candle because I want to smell it. Couldn't find the candle. The candle was discontinued. At that time, my cousin had let me know that she actually started to make her own candles.
Mhm.
So I was like, I wonder if I can get my cousin to make a candle for me. So I sent her everything,
Mhm.
told her what I want. And so she made the candle that is my version of what Cairo would smell like. So it's this warm, spicy scent because his drink of choice is Trace Generations tequila, which is a spiced tequila. So he
Mhm.
has this warm, spicy scent to him based off of the tequila that he drinks. So that's
Okay.
where the candle comes in. So the candle is done by Marie and Anthony Creations. So they make that candle as well as a lot of other scents. So if you need some candles, they're a good place to go.
I love it. And then you had this, which is first of all, you had the seal on there. I hope everyone can see it. Let me see. Okay, the seal. But then you had the letter inside. And what made you do this?
Well, the letter idea came about. So it wasn't a bad review. So one person had read the book and reviewed the book, and she wasn't too keen on the violence. And she, in her review, she talked about it as it being this whole thing of, a man trying to bend a woman to his will and make her submit and do all this stuff, and it was just totally off base of the nature of the violence in the book. Like, that's not what it really is about for Kyra. It's more or less a game for him, and he likes to show that he is the dominant one in terms of him being a vampire as opposed to vampire versus humanity. It's his way of showing that he's stronger than humanity, that he is controlling over humanity because he can do things that they can't. And so, like I said, it wasn't a bad review, but it just, I don't know, it was just something about that rubbed me the wrong way. And I didn't want people to go off and read this book and thinking that, like, as a woman, that I'm just like catering to violence against women and it's okay to go torture or beat this woman. I'm like, that's totally not what it's about. It's really the reasoning why Cairo does what he does is he's essentially trying to stay alive, so to speak. Like,
Yeah.
Cairo Malachi is very dark. He hates humanity, and
Mm-hmm.
he's that way because of something that happened during his past. So it kind of goes back into that play of where we label people.
Mm-hmm.
So Malachi was labeled a monster. That is what he decided to be. So Cairo, trying to outdo the teacher, he has to up his violence so that he is showing Malachi that he's not weak, that he's not susceptible to all of the human feels and the love and emotion and all of this stuff that he actually has in him.
Right.
Because he Cairo's not this dark person. He never was. He learned to be evil, and he has to keep that going so that he doesn't betray Malachi.
Mm-hmm. Because
And so that's
Malachi
what the
is
letter came
dangerous.
about. So I just wanted to kind of explain, like, that is not what the violence of the story is about. And I don't have the best handwriting. I would love it to have been written in a real script and look like it was this ancient letter. And so that's why I did it on the antique paper and did it in a script. The first letters that I did, I didn't have the seal on them, and so that was actually a Christmas gift from my deaconess at my church. She gave it to me as Christmas, and the D is for my initials.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, write the letter. I was like, hey, that'll be the perfect thing to use my seal on. Is I can seal all my letters, and it'll give it that feel even more. So now it really feels like it's this old letter from a time period when both Cairo and Malachi were born and was living. And so I just thought it
Yes.
was a cool piece. And then I bought me some. I had the kit came with gold wax, and then I ran out of that, and then I bought some different colors, and I just have a ball with playing with wax.
I love it. I'm gonna tell you, I can't wait to read the next series of this because I love the backstory. And the fact that they became vampires 300 years ago. I can only imagine what their backstory is. So I'm excited for that. I'm going to see what the chat is talking about real quick. Let's see. Um, oh, it's a lot. Let me see. Where did I get? Okay. Um, all right. So Mrs. Newton is saying, okay, she's saying hello. And she used to snap out honey. I'm not sure what that is. It's probably another conversation. Okay, let me see. I love that. And Slasher Chick is saying that sounds interesting. Okay. They're also speaking to each other.
Mhm.
Oh, Mrs. Newton is saying her son's name is Malachi. I know Melissa's son is named Malachi also.
Yay, lots of Malachi's in there. See, Malachi's just misunderstood. He just needs a
Right.
hug.
Yes. And I can't wait to see why, because I can tell that him wanting to be how he is a choice. Like he
Mhm.
actually is making himself be like that. Like, I hope I'm not going to be nice. Like, I'm not going
Yes,
to do it. I
yes.
can feel him, but I can feel that
he
niceness
yeah
is down in there
he
somewhere.
definitely does not want to be nice,
Hmm.
and he doesn't like the idea of being nice. Anything that is nice and love, like he equates it as weakness, and it's all stemmed because of his backstory and his drive to not be weak.
Right. So I have other questions around the book, but I want to jump ahead a little bit
Okay.
because there are quite a few writers who are self-published, and even at the Black Book Festival, the other authors, only yourself and one other, maybe two others, were published by a company and not self-published. So how did you find a publisher? This is your first novel, and I know it's relatively easy to become self published, but how and why did you not go the self publishing route?
So I had started. It was the plan to when I got to the point that I was gonna publish the book. So when I started writing it, it was something that I was just gonna do for fun, and then I got into it. And so, like I said, I literally started in the 5 subject notebook. And when I had written about 6 to 7 chapters, I was like, okay, maybe we should type it. So I started typing it, and the idea of it was just gonna live on my computer under the bed. That was what the story was gonna be. I'm like, I'm gonna write it, but I'm not gonna do anything with it. This is just gonna live under the bed. After I got through about maybe the first 15 chapters, I was like, okay, you've done all this work. Maybe you should at least try. So my cousin, her husband, he had written some children's books, and he had did some self-publishing. So I reached out to him. He did everything through Ingram Sparks. Got the whole lay of the land, researched Ingram, went through all of that, and all the notes and what they said that you should do. And I was debating whether or not I wanted to kind of try to shop it around, because I had did some research, and there were a few publishing companies that were actually taking unsolicited manuscripts so that you could pitch them to see if they would publish them.
Mhm.
Doing that, I was a bit concerned, because I was just like, well, I don't want to give somebody my manuscript and then they take it. Like, it's essentially, it's my baby. So I can't just give you my child without some sort of guarantee that everything's going to be fine. So I went ahead and did my own copyright for Dark Obsessions before I would send it out to anybody. And once I did that copyright, Dorrance Publishing actually reached out to me. So they're what they call a vanity press. So essentially, it is backed by a publisher, so to speak, but it does kind of still fall into the realm of being a self-published author. It's not traditionally published.
Can you spell
And
that? You said Dorrance?
yes, it's Dorrance,
Okay.
Dorrance Publishing.
Okay.
And so I essentially paid them to publish my book. So they sent me over everything, contract or whatever. You broke it up into payments. They handled all of the facets of the book: the editing, the formatting, the cover, the distribution, and all of that. And the reason why I ended up choosing to actually go that route, and I know a lot of people probably don't, is because of the royalty split. So Dorrance does a 60-40 split. Of course, if you self-publish, you're going to get 100% of the proceeds. For me, trying to do this as on a whim and just learning how to publish a book, to put a book out, going through that, I was just like, 100% of nothing is nothing. So if I do this on my own and I don't know how to reach the people, the book's not going to sell.
Hmm.
Dorrance, with publishing with them, they send it out to media outlets. They do help you try to get it in front of people and kind of help you get that way. And I was like, okay, yeah, they're going to take a good cut of it, but they are doing a lot of the work. They are doing a good chunk of the work. But 40% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Hmm.
So it made sense to me to go ahead and have them publish it. And so, like I said, for me, it was to do Dark Obsessions. It cost me $5,400, but I split it up over payments. And like I said, they handled everything. I actually ran into a few issues in the printing, and they fixed it. Like, I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to deal with those headaches of this is wrong, that's wrong. Anything that I noticed that wasn't right, I just reached out to my contact, and they was like, "We'll take care of it," and everything got fixed. They sent my book out to, like I said, over 400 media outlets. I had press releases that popped up in newspapers in Indiana and Ohio, I believe. So I did get a lot of press and exposure that way. And then the other piece to publishing with Darns is they do a combined book fair, and it's where a lot of the traditional publishers, a lot of the book industry people go to these book fairs, and they can cost you a couple $1,000s to submit your book. Well, doing it with Darns, I got a significant discount. So my book has actually been on display in London, Guadalajara, and Frankfurt, Germany, and it cost
Wow.
me, for each time it went, it cost me $250. So I was like, it was much more affordable for me to get that international exposure that I would not have been able to if I solely self-published.
Wow. And what about anything that they gave you? Did they provide you with copies of your book?
Yes, that is the other thing that I really liked about them. I looked at a lot of places who published, and you get like 3 or 4 copies of your book. Darns gave me 25 copies of my book, and that's actually how I was able to do my first book event. And so all of that was strictly profit for me. Because I
Mm-hmm.
sold the books for the full price, and since I didn't come out of pocket for them, all of that was pure profit, and then I was able to use that to
Wow.
send it to some more book fairs and do some of the other press that I've done and enter the two awards that I actually submitted it to and actually won.
Wow. So tell us, if you had to do it all over again as a first time author, you have your books, what would you have done a little differently? Or would you have done anything differently?
As far as publishing it, I probably would not have done anything differently. I think I don't know if it would have been out if I had published it. It was hard enough to just kind of get over the hump to write it, and it was hard enough for me to get over the stress of my Chromebook when I bought it, because I didn't know how to work a Chromebook. I didn't like my Chromebook. I wanted to throw that in the trash. So there was just a lot of little hurdles that I did go through, and I don't know if I would have had more of those, if I would have stuck with it. I probably would have been just like, it's just too much. Just forget it. And just would
Yeah.
have. I think it would have been easy to me to let it go. So as far as publishing it, I wouldn't have done anything differently. I might do some marketing things differently, some strategies to help get it out there more. But as
Like
far as,
what?
I mean, that's been the hardest thing for me, is marketing it and trying to get it out in front of people. So
Mhm.
there were some events and things that I done early on that didn't really go so well, and just kind of the way it is. Like I as much as I love the cover, I might would change the cover slightly. I don't always know if for people that's not in Charlotte, if it's grabby enough for them. Like, I know people in Charlotte, they see it, they're like, oh, that's the Charlotte skyline.
Yeah.
People in other cities, I don't know if it's attention grabbing, but like I said, I do love it, but I might have would have changed a few tweaks and things there and just tried to make it a little more pop.
I love it. But because I live here in
Yes.
Charlotte, so I know. But I want to ask, because there's so many self-published authors, how did you find the one that you went with? Like, did you Google them? How did you research them? How did
No.
you find out the credibility? Were you able to talk to other writers that use them? Like, how did that work?
So they actually, when I did the copyright, it had my information in it. They actually called me.
Oh,
So they called me and they left a message, and I was just listening to it, and I listened to the message probably about 3 times, and I was like, it's somebody that says they want to post my book. So I couldn't really make out who the company was, and I initially was going to be like, it's probably a scam, just let it go. But something, in me, God was just like, there's no harm in asking questions. So I was
hmm,
like, just call them. So I was like, just call them. figure out who they are and what it is. And so yeah, once I called them, and then I got a better idea, I could actually hear better of who they were. Got the website, looked over it, said that they had been in service for 100 years. Did
Mm,
some reviews for it. Didn't really see anything negative, and I was like, well, yes, let me send me the contract. Let me look that over. Looked over the contract, and I was just like, it's kind of a no brainer for me because I really didn't know what to do with my book.
hmm. Would you have been able to negotiate, do you think, with them?
I don't know. I mean, probably. I mean, you know, there may have been some I didn't think about that, didn't try, because
Hmm.
you know it was the simple fact that it was 5,400 and I couldn't break it up into payments that were good for me. So they give you kind of a payment list, and it's like, you know, if that doesn't work, let us know what works, and then you pay based off of how much money is kind of like in your pot is when your book goes to the next step. So it's like,
Okay.
you know, you get to a certain point, they'll do the edits, and then they'll send you all the edits for you to approve, and they'll give you a date to send it back. And then you get to a certain amount of money, then they'll do the cover and all of that, and then you approve it, and then it's the final product.
Okay.
So I did this book. I wrote it in 2017, 2018, and started doing the publishings around 2019, 2020. So I put all of my good COVID stimulus money to use.
Okay. All right. And I'm looking at this like it would be almost like if you were a singer and you had a contract or something and you have this deal, because I hear about these authors that have been writing forever, and they have these 10 book deals or 10 record deals. Do you have to stick with them for a certain amount of time or books? And how does that work when you sign with a company like this?
No, so it's done per book. So if you wanted to go in and do another book with them, you would do another contract, and then they would see about how long, what that book is, determine that price. So everything is individual. It's a 2 year deal in the sense where they will have my book on their platform and promote it and everything for 2 years. After that 2 years, they can choose to not renew the contract. I can choose to not renew the contract, and the book will come down. Everything will go back to me, and then I can move on with it how I see fit.
So after that 2 years, if you decide that you want to stay with them, if they're good with you staying with them, do you have to pay an additional fee?
No, no. Then the book just they'll continue to keep it on their platform, on their site, and continue to promote it and be the backing of it for like the links on Amazon and everything.
Okay, and get this that 60/40 split.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
I still do it, and then I will negotiate for if I want to do the next book.
Okay. And do you get a discount because you're already part of their team basically? Or they're
Yes,
part of your
I
team?
have reached out to them, and yes, they usually do. Like if you do another book with them, they usually do give you a good rate on the second book, depending on, of course, the length and everything. Get discounts for ordering books, so I get a 45% discount on all of the books that I order, and then they did some merch with it too. So they have I think I forget what the website is, but they've kind of made like stickers and pins and
Oh,
banners and things that actually have my book cover on it. So they actually did do a little bit of a promotional piece there as well that
that's
I didn't
cool.
have to upfront the cost. They just did it on their own. So that was part of the contract, which was pretty cool.
That is. And so with them, I forget the question I was going to ask. It was at the tip of my tongue. Hold on. But let's look at your award winning, the award that you won. So it sounds like you won two awards.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you find out about them? How did they find out about you? How do you, as a writer, as an author, how do you get submitted into an award to put your name in the hat?
Surprisingly, I found both of them on Facebook.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been in several different Facebook groups, and the American Fiction Award link popped up on Facebook as well as the Book Fest. And what you do is it's I forget what the fee was. I think both of them were it was 95, and you pay the fee. You send them either a copy of your book or a copy of your manuscript, and it gets judged by a panel of judges. They look at storytelling, plot, writing. They have all of these criteria of what they go in and look at. And so, to my surprise, I kind of fell off the floor when I got the email that I won the American Fiction Award. I looked at it twice to make sure that it was my name. And so that was the first one that I won, and why I was very proud of that one and really wanted that to be on the cover. The other
Mm-hmm.
one was one, so that they have different categories that you can submit. So you can submit your book to any number of categories, and you just pay for each category or however it is.
Okay.
So with the American Fiction, I submitted it only to one. With the Book Fest, I submitted it to two or three categories, and I ended up winning third place in two of them. It was the paranormal, romance, fiction, and urban paranormal romance, and I placed third in both of those. And the Book Fest, the trophy that they give you is pretty cool. So
Is
it's
it?
yes, it's, and then you get it for whether you win first, second, or third. They give you all the same trophy, but it's a 7 pound crystal book.
Oh my goodness.
And I have yet
Wow.
to display it because I'm scared that it's going to get broken.
You're
Because
gonna have to buy a
I
beautiful,
will cry like a baby.
you have to buy a beautiful, setting for it. So
Yes,
you
so I have yet to find something to put it in to display it. So right now
yeah.
it lives in its box.
Wow, yes,
Yes,
definitely.
it's
You should go to
7 pound
Furniture
crystal
Land
book.
South in High Point to find
Okay,
a place.
I'll
Yes.
definitely keep that in mind because because I would love to display it, and but I haven't yet.
You need to.
And I couldn't believe there was I was in a category with people that had multiple books, people that were scholars, and just people
Wow.
who've done way more than I have. And I was like, there's all of these high people and little of me. And I was like, I'm
Congratulations.
happy to have one third. So it was pretty cool.
Congratulations on both, on all of them. I mean, why not you? You say, why me? Why not? Is what I say. You deserve it. This is an amazing book. The storyline is unique, for me,
Yeah.
and so I think even with the urban one, I'm surprised you didn't win first place in that. So definitely, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
But
Great
for
job.
people who are looking to be in any of some of the awards, like I said, after I won the American Fiction, I got onto a platform. It's called Book Awards Pro, and it lists all of them that you can apply for. And then, like I said, gives you the links, and you just go to them and see if they're, if your book fits, what categories, where you want to put it in. If it's something you want to try, like there's another one I'm thinking about it. It's the Potty Awards for the smutty books, because there's a small amount of smut in the first book. The smut level will grow as the trilogy goes on,
Uh-huh.
because it gets the as much as it's a dark book, it really is a romance.
Yes.
So as Cairo and Skylar's relationship develops, the smut level will increase.
Oh,
So if you like good smutty reads out there, it's coming.
right. Wow. So what I was going to ask about the publishing is just like, a record label, they have a genre and they only focus on like country music, soul music, R&B, rap, whatever. Is it like that for a publishing company, like the one that you with, or do they have a menu of different types of genres that they
Oh no, they
publish?
publish anything. They have fantasy, self help, cookbooks, children's books. Yeah, they run the whole gamut of what you can publish.
Interesting. And when it comes to your cover, did you give them a concept or did they have their graphic designer design it and then you had to give it a green light or not? Like did you sit at the table with them? How did they come up with this?
I gave them a concept. So back when I was actually, it changed from the first book slightly. So when I was gonna go and publish it, the cover was actually all black and white, and the only color that was in it was into the two energy sequences on there. So in the original book, they were much more defined, and one was red, one was orange, but there wasn't enough depth in the book. So like when I would look at it, I was like, as much as I love this, I wouldn't grab this off this bookshelf because it's just
Mhm.
not enough to draw you in. So when I signed with them and they were looking at the cover, I had initially submitted that cover and that's what we were going to use. And then, I changed my mind. I told them, I was like, no, I want to change that. So I sent them the photo of the city of Charlotte that I had. And then I told them what the concept was. And that's what they came up with.
Okay. They did a great job. They really did,
Yeah.
for it to be, that type of process. So that's good. Let me see in the chat what they're talking about real quick. Let's see. Okay. See if they have questions. I see Slasher Chick. Let's see. She's saying by hand, those first 6 chapters, when you said that. Yes, by hand. Oh,
Yes, by hand. I went old school, pencil and paper.
so you didn't want to do, voice to text or anything like that?
No, and like it was funny. It was in the middle of the five subject note because I didn't want anybody to know that I was writing it. I didn't
Um,
tell anybody that I actually was writing this book until I started typing it, and I was probably on chapter 20.
mm,
Because by that time I was too invested because I didn't want people to tell me that I couldn't do it because I probably would
mm,
have like, yeah, you're probably right, and I would have put it down. And so I was like,
wow.
not letting nobody know what I'm doing. And it was like that's during that year, that's all that I did. Like I was always in front of my computer. My sister, they finally asked me just like, what are you doing? And I was like, writing a book. And they was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Right, right. See, and that's why, of course, well, not of course, but unfortunately, sometimes we have those naysayers. But you have to know that what you think, 98% of what you think will never happen. Like 98% of what you thought people would say won't say that. And just like you said, you told your sister what you were doing, and she was really excited for it. Now, is this the same sister that's your PR person?
Yes.
All right. What is her role and why is it important to have a PR person?
She is instrumental in a lot of the events and things that go on. So she, in her own right, she is a PR and event planner. So she actually has her own company, Soirees Entertainment. So this is what she does for a living. So when I started writing the book and kind of got it published, and I was like, okay, it's time to promote it. She got voluntold. She's been able to volunteer me, all my life of what I was going to do with things. So I was like, you get paid to do this for other people. You're going to do this for me. So she became kind of my PR rep, and so she handles all of my events, helps me plan them, do the aesthetics, get them done. If it's something that I want to do, I'll bring the idea to her, and she'll figure out how to have it. So
That's good.
back when I first started writing the book, they were doing the Greater Charlotte Book Crawl, and I had saw that they had an author that was being featured at one of the bookstores, and I was like, oh, how do I get my book in there? I want to do that. So I said everything to my sister, and she looked at it, and she was like, okay, well, why don't we just do our own? I was like, okay, if that's what you want to do. So some of you may have heard it, may have not. So every year in April, my sister and I, we do what we call out at Camp North End a book scoop. So instead of doing a book crawl, because before you can crawl, you got to kind of scoot around. So we get myself and some other local authors, and we get them posted all around Camp North End in different spots, and people come through, and like you do with the book crawl, and you go to all the different bookstores to buy books. You go around Camp North End and you meet all the different local authors.
Oh, I love it. I didn't know about that. And it's always in April now?
Yeah, we do it in April. So yes, it's
Okay.
called the Book Scoop.
Book school. I like it. Okay.
So
I
she
hear
does
that. Let's
stuff.
do our own.
Yeah, she does
So
stuff like that. So like
Mhm.
we're in the works of trying to do an event and do a ball, because that's the next thing that I really want to do. Is you hear all of these big book conventions like a Polycon and Books, Gowns, and Crowns, and like there's one even in Charlotte. I think it's called Midnight Darkness or something like that. But they have like a masquerade ball at the end of the event. And I was like, well, we should do that. So she's working on trying to get that established too.
Okay. Well,
So
I
I have
definitely
these
want to stay
ideas, and
connected.
she puts them to pen and paper, and kind of figures out ways to make them happen. So
I
she's
love
very
it.
instrumental in the promotion of darker sections, and everywhere she goes, she's always promoting it. So,
Yes. And I could tell because when I initially came to your table, you had stepped away for a moment and she was able to effectively tell me about the book and everything, but she let me know she's the PR person. And then, she represented you and your book very well.
Yes.
Slasher Chick is saying, "Oh, it's like white labeling of self-publishing. Never heard of that. Didn't even know that you could." And again, can you say and spell the publisher that you used?
Yes, it's Dorrance Publishing. It's DORRANCE
Mhm.
Publishing. And I think the website is dorrancepublishing.com.
And where are they based out of?
Based out of Philadelphia.
Oh, Slasher Chicks in Philly. What?
Yes. There you go. Thank you.
Um, Royalty is more passive income. Yes, it is. That's why, listen, everybody has a book in them. They do. There's a story that you have in you that you can tell, that you need to tell. It might not even be a novel. It might be a self-help book. Like I'm doing a planner book, Slasher Chick, don't do it. Don't say anything, please. But I'm in the process of doing a planner goal setting book. So it doesn't even have to be a novel per se, but it's a book nevertheless that I would love to have out there. And I feel like everyone has a story to tell or a book to put out there, and there's many ways that you can do it. So Dorrance is a publishing company that I know I'm gonna look into for sure. Let's see. Meaning require, and that's another stream of income. So when you have many streams, multiple streams, having a book is just one of them.
Mm-hmm.
um Meaning requires less of you doing the work other than the upfront writing, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, whether you self-publish or you have a company that publishes for you, you're going to have to pay. Nothing is going to be free. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to have to get your book copywritten. You're going to have to, either there's no way that you should just edit your book by yourself. You're going to have to solicit someone or some company to do it for you. Like there's so many different things you have to pay for, and those are piecemeal if you do it as a self-publisher. But it sounds like who you use, it was all under one roof.
Yeah, they handled it all, and then the caveat to doing it on your own, it is harder to get it into like bookstores and getting people to like actually try to debut it and put it in places like that because it doesn't have an ISBN. And that's another thing that like I learned through Ingram Sparks, and is why I did the copyright for my book, and kind of went about and did some things a little bit differently because I wanted it to be able to be on those platforms. So like even though it's not in their stores, you can actually buy my book literally everywhere online that books are sold. You can buy it. You can go to Barnes and Nobles and you can Google my book, and you could buy it off their website because they'll sell it online. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it from Target.
Hmm.
It's just not. It hasn't hit the sales mark yet to be put on the actual physical shelves, but it does give it a bit more of exposure and platform that you don't always get with doing it completely with self-published because you don't have that ISBN number.
Right. Exactly. I will say my son has the ISB, so he's in Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and Books a Million, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what was interesting is talking to some of the authors at the Black Book Festival. A couple of them, they only sell their books on their website. And one of them was even quick to say, taking out the middleman. Listen, sometimes that middleman has more of a reach than your website.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try to spread the love and have your book, sprinkled everywhere. So it's
Yeah,
probably because he doesn't have the ISBN number.
yeah, could be. And I mean, like I decided to go that route again for me because I had looked at it. I was like, I'm gonna have to pay somebody to format it because I didn't know how to do it.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to pay somebody to do the cover. I'm gonna have to pay somebody to produce it. So I was just like, at the end of the day, I was like, I'm probably gonna spend
Yeah,
close to the same amount of money anyway. Especially if you want it done and done right, because
exactly.
unfortunately, you get what you pay for. If you don't put nothing into your book,
Yeah,
it's not gonna do what you want it to do. And so I
exactly.
had to put it. I had to put the money in to get it to look like all the other books that are selling, to actually be able to stand next to those books, to be competitive. Like that's ultimately how I was able to win those awards, because there again, to submit your book for those awards, it has to it has to look a certain way. It has to have a certain type of publishing look to it. It can't just be you self help, you did it, but the pictures are grainy, and so you did back quality photos. Like, it's all got to be top notch.
Yeah. Wow. That's good advice right there. Let's see. Slasher Chick is saying, so you were completely done and had to submit the full manuscript for that process, or did you still finish writing while pursuing that?
When I done it, when they reached out to me, the manuscript was done, so I had already did the copyright. It was completely finished. But like, I don't know if you have to submit the full manuscript or not. I think you can submit partial, and to kind of get the contract, because it's when you start it, and like I said, you pay based off of, they move based off of how much is kind of in your pocket.
Mm-hmm. So
And
it's
so,
like, what does they call it in developing? Like, if in a real estate development, it's like, oh, I can't believe I can't remember what it's called. When, like, say, even if you're building a home, you have different levels, and then you owe this amount.
mhm.
Okay, now we're up to this point. Now you owe this amount, but you were
Yes.
on a pay scale, so you kind of could see, like, from month one to however long. Because how long did the entire process take for you from contracting with them to completion?
um Probably about a year and a half, because I did, like I said, yeah, I did run into an issue with the ISBN that got assigned to it, and so that took some time to refix, but it took probably about a year and a half. So when I started it, like, you they give you certain amounts that you can pay up front. So you can do 500 for like a 14-month contract. You can do 1,060, and it could be like 17 months. So you can break it up into that. They kind of give you all of these different plans and things. So when I initially did my book, I did the cheapest one. I did the one that was for $500 up front, and then I paid $204 every month is what I would pay. And then you would do that for 2 years. So my book technically was supposed to take a 2-year process for them to do it. And
Okay.
you can sign that contract in the way it is, so you can go off of like, okay, yes, I can do 500. I can't do the 1,000. I can't do all this. I can do the 500. That's what works for me. What they do, then they give you the option to pay more. So I did the 500, reached out to them, and I was like, I would like to make individual payments and pay ahead. So they
Uh-huh.
sent me the list of everything, give me all of my 2-year payments, and you can just go in and pay when you felt like it. And that's why I say, my stimulus check was really nice, because I would take all of that money that was extra money to put into my book. So I was able to cut my 2-year process in half,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I paid my book off with all of that extra money in about 8 months, because
Okay.
I was able to do it every two. I was able to pay that every 2 weeks, and then anytime that I got extra money, I was like, going to the book,
Mm-hmm.
going to the
Mm-hmm.
book. So that's what's cool about it. So like, you don't get that with a lot of publishers. Like, they'll break payments up for you, but they'll be like, let's say it's $3,000, and they're like, okay, we'll break it up into 5 payments, and that's pretty much the standard of what you're going to get. Like I said, Darns will let you break it up into 2 years, so what you can do, because they really do understand, that as an author, you are struggling to make a living, but also trying to put this book out, and that it's taken away from your normal livelihood. So they do make it pretty easy for you, and that's why I went with them.
And so it's interesting that after, when you went to do the copyright, they found you. So do they comb through copyrights, that people are applying for, and see what kind of projects are out there, and then, is that a normal thing for them to do?
I believe so. I mean, because copyrights, they are public documents when you
Yeah.
do them, so anybody can go in and look, and I'm sure they're probably not the only ones that probably do that, and it's how they are able to find those talents to come in and to do their books.
Wow. Let's see. Slasher Chick is saying, "All right, so you were done because you'd gotten the copyright. Thanks for repeating that part. Yes, you're welcome." And I see Warm Strong Adventures is in the building. If y'all don't know him, if you want to go on a cruise, go and check out Warm Strong Adventures. Thanks for being here. And what a cool idea with the back with the book crawl. Yeah, isn't it, Slasher Chick? Slasher Chick has a lot of great technical platforms and different things. So if you're interested in learning more about AI tools, she's definitely that channel. And maybe that
Okay.
can help you with your next, because Canva and just a lot of different things that she uses is amazing. Okay, so
Right.
I'm just so intrigued. I'm intrigued by the publishing piece, but let's see. In terms of character development and even the flow of your book, did the publisher want, I know they did the edits for you, but did they want you to change a lot of your book, or were they good with your original copy?
They were good with my original copy. So when they do an edit, they're only doing a grammatical edit. Like, your book is your book. They don't give you any suggestions to change anything. If it's not fully developed, like, they are not going to tell you that. So
Oh,
it's just you have to be confident in your product that you are doing, and if you're good with it, they're going to publish it for you, and
how many
they'll just do the edits.
how many people did you get to read your book before getting to them, giving it to them to edit, to say, can y'all read this and let me know what you think? Or did you do that?
I let one person read it,
Uh-huh.
my sister.
Okay.
Because while she is my sister, she is probably literally the most honest person that I know. And so she'd tell me if it was bad. And so I was like, here, read this. So when she read it and she liked it, it kind of was a little bit of a weight off my shoulders. And I was like, let's just see what happens.
Yes, yes. I love it. So, has anyone ever approached you for this book to make it into a play? Or have you ever thought about other ways? I know you talked about a movie, possibly a series, but have you ever looked at maybe a play?
At first I hadn't. So another person who kind of brought that to me was actually my neighbor. She actually read the book, and she was telling me about it, that she had went to, it's actually somewhere, I think in Charlotte or maybe even in South Carolina, and that's what they do. Is like a way for people to kind of debut their work, and they do like these little skits and
Yeah.
5 minute kind of like plays. And I've been thinking about maybe taking like an excerpt of it and acting it out, or playing it. I know a couple of people who do film and trying to do some different things to actually help promote it in a different way.
Yeah. Well, I know Melissa Huggins that's in the chat is a playwright, and she does do that with books. And that what you're talking about is like 10 minutes. They did it at the Bloomingthal Theater in Charlotte, and a lot of different playwrights got together. This was not too long ago. Maybe in the fall or something. It was amazing, and because it's they have a whole group, of different people in the theater arena, um, and they each had like a 10-minute piece of whatever play they had, and they were able to do it on stage and have it performed out, and it was wonderful. It was like a round robin of plays. I
Cool.
mean, they all had different themes, and it was just really, really good. So you and I have to stay connected, so next time one of those come up, I could definitely invite you to go to it.
Yeah, I would definitely love to. That would be really cool.
For sure, because there's so much you can do with this, and I again can't wait to the series, the next book, the sequel to this, because it was a cliffhanger. I knew as I was getting towards the end, and I noticed there were only a few more pages. I was like, wait a minute, there's no way that it could be ending unless she's going to try to rush through it. And that's the beauty of it. I didn't feel like you rushed through it at all. You know how sometimes at the end, authors will often like, okay, let me just throw the end in. I gotta just finish it. No, you were like, listen, this is the end, but it's not the end. And I'm not going
Yeah,
to rush it. I'm just going to leave it like this. And then you just have to wait. So,
you sound like a lot of people, a lot of my friends that had read it. They did the same thing. They were reading it. It's like, really, you gonna leave me with a cliffhanger? Like I got to the book and I just knew you were gonna finish it, but you didn't have the pages. I was like it's coming, I promise. And that is the growing question is when the second book is coming.
and
It's
when
I'm
I
in
need to
ends
know.
right now, so I'm hoping to have them. The deadline I've given myself is to have the book done and started in productions by September.
All right. This
So
is like the
I
Game
got
of Thrones up in
I
here.
got two. I got 2 more months to get everything finished and to my liking to where I'm happy with it, and I just have to let it go. Like
All right. Let
it's
it
never
go.
it's never ending. So I'll edit and read it and see if anything that I need to change if I have any more ideas. And so I'm finally to a point where I have no more ideas for the second book. So I just
Okay.
got to get through the last couple chapters of editing it. So
Okay.
I'm
Please,
on schedule.
please
That's the good thing.
try to be ahead of schedule a little bit.
Yeah, I'm working on it. So I'm trying to get it finished.
All right. I think
um,
this is a great book for a great summer read for going to the beach, going on vacation. If you just want to pick up that book, or even just for your daily reading, for your book club to discuss the levels and the layers of it, and to try to determine what's going to happen. And I love talking about what do you think? Why are they like that? Having those deeper discussions in a book club. So I highly recommend it. Do you have any type of recommendations for someone who's on the fence, who may have that person in their ear saying, you should write a book? What recommendations do you have for them to get started?
I would just tell them, find them a quiet space and to just see what happens. Like when I started writing this book, I didn't really have any expectations. It was just kind of just let me see what it is. So ironically, from the time that I wrote it in the 5 subject notebook to what I typed, the book changed. It
Oh,
initially started I initially started writing it from solely from Skylar's perspective.
oh,
And then as I was writing it, I was like, what about Cairo? I want to know what he's doing. Cause like I would write it, but I would also be the reader. So I would ask myself the same questions that I would be like, if I was reading the book, I'm like, what about this? And but I want to know that. And so I was like,
yeah,
okay, we got to figure that out. And so like I would outline it and make me notes. It was like, okay, we got to work on this, figure this out, add this, and then when I got into it, where I was decided that I was going to type it, I don't know what happened. I was reading what I wrote, but I literally typed something completely different. So the book went from Skylar to Cairo.
wow,
Still have no idea how I did that, but a whole new idea just came through. So I was typing it, and when I finished his first chapter, I was like, we're just gonna do it for third person. I was like, so next chapter is gonna be about Skylar, and so the book it runs parallel to what Skylar's doing, what Cairo's doing until they meet, and then it's kind of still in third person, but then it's both of their stories together, and then they
Mhm.
may veer back off as they, have their separations and things.
I love that concept too. It's like a Quentin Tarantino movie, where these
Yes.
people they're doing this over here, but then over there, this is what they're doing and what they're thinking, and then when they get together, this is what it is. I love that, and I appreciate that too because it did get you more invested in both characters and all the characters really. So that was great. Let me see. I'm gonna go drop down in the chat again, and um Slasher Chicken saying, we hope that you come back and talk about the next book. Yes,
Yes, I
definitely.
definitely will.
hmm And Melissa is saying, this discussion is awesome. I've learned a lot. And Melissa is the playwright that's in the building.
Oh, okay.
hmm And listen, she did an amazing job. She had a Mother's Love play. It was the day before Mother's Day. It was a play. It was a snippet of a play. It wasn't a full play. It was I forget what Melissa. You might want to drop in the chat to tell me so I don't get it wrong. But it wasn't the full play. It was a portion of a play, and it was dinner too. And so it was a great Mother's Day event, and it was in Charlotte. All the
Awesome.
mothers, we got roses. The ambiance was beautiful. The food was delicious. The play was wonderful. So that was a great thing for Charlotte for sure. It was about probably maybe 200 people there. It was good, well attended. Um, yes, right. Slasher chick is saying she loves stories like that, and I think it's having the two perspectives and knowing what that other person is thinking. What are they doing when they're not in that same area together, and how do they really feel?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the thing that I always come back to when I am reading books is like, it's always from the female's perspective. I was like, well, what is the guy doing? Like, I want to know what's going on with him.
right, right. And listen, I would love to see your play on the big screen because I want to see Malachi's house on Lake Wiley. I know it is everything. I was like, yo, his house
Yes.
sounds dope. And his cars.
Yes.
So Melissa's saying it's called a one act play and dinner. That's what it
Oh, okay.
was.
I'll definitely look that up.
Yes. And yeah, slasher chick, I'm telling you, it was so nice. The tables were set beautifully, the chairs were covered, just the lighting was perfect. It was really, really a nice, very well put together event for sure. So listen, Delphine, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited for all that you're doing. I hope that you have inspired someone that's listening into this live or to the replay to put pen to paper, get that 5 subject notebook out and just write. If
Yeah.
someone's telling you that you should be a writer, that means they see something in you. And so what happened with you is that they saw it. He saw it for you all along, right? But you didn't
Yeah.
see it for yourself.
And wouldn't let it go till I told him I was writing the book.
Exactly. See? And then you saw it, you owned it. You said, you know what? Let me write it. You lived it. You started writing that book and then you owned it. And look where you're at right now. Your steps are ordered. And I'm so glad that you walked along that path to get it done because this is some good work, some great work.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. And oh, you're welcome, Melissa. Absolutely. And so, with that being said, do you have any kind of quote or special thing that you would like to say at the end for everyone?
Yes, I will end it with so you heard Sherry talking about the book, the wrapping, the immersive reading kit, and all the things that come with the book. If you would like to get your book same way the candle and all of that, I will be doing another event in September. I think it's going to be about September 9th. If you check my website, www.delphinemcclelland.com, I will have all the details on there coming soon. And I will be at an event in Charlotte selling some more of my gifts to the world, some more rap books. And you can get that amazing candle that she was talking about if you're into candles and wanting to know what Cairo smells like.
Yes, definitely. And also, I will have your website that you just mentioned in the description box underneath this video, so everyone will be able to see it. I'll also put it in I'll put it in a message and I'll pin it to the comment section so
Okay.
everyone can see. But I appreciate you so much for being here. Thank you for answering the questions and for sharing the information. A lot of people don't always share, information. They're just like, you know what? Ooh, oh no. Oh, did it go away? Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, can you still see me though?
Yes,
All right. Okay. There we go. Ooh. Um, but I appreciate you for being so generous with your information. And we will
definitely.
definitely
Thank you
have
for having me.
you back. Yes, definitely.
There's
I'm
it's
trying
enough
to,
of the pie for everybody to go around. So if my this chat can help the next person write the next great novel, I'm happy to help.
yes. And that's what it's all about. It's about each one teach one and let's do this together.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take you down and close out.
Bye.
Thank you. I'm just going to pull you down, but don't go anywhere. Oh, oh, what? I'm trying. Okay. Just trying to. Okay, there you are. All right, everyone. Let's give her an applause. She did such a great job. Oh, and thank you all again for being here. Remember, every day practice, practice so hard so that when you play, you will play to win. And this special guest, author Delphine McClelland, who is the author of Dark Obsessions, she was playing to win. She read those books and she was able to take what she liked and what she didn't like and make her own story up and do a phenomenal job. That's what it's all about. So, again, thank you so much for being here. I am Coach Sherry.